August 1944. A lone Messerschmitt Bf-109 cuts through the war-torn skies over Europe, its engines roaring against the twilight. But something is amiss. This German warbird is not flying under Nazi colors. Instead, it bears the insignia of the United States Army Air Force, two massive American flags painted along its fuselage. At the controls sits Constantin Cantacuzino, a Romanian aristocrat, a world-class athlete. Below them, the war rages on. The Luftwaffe, once dominant, is now fighting a losing battle. The Soviets push from the east, the Allies from the west. Cantacuzino and his unexpected passenger are caught between two fires. If the Germans don't shoot them down, the Americans might. His mission is simple but nearly suicidal: deliver the American officer safely to Allied lines in Italy. If he fails, they both die. Constantin Cantacuzino was born into privilege, a scion of one of Romania's oldest noble families. By his 20s, he was a national hero not for war, but for sports. A champion in ice hockey, motor racing, and aerobatics, he was admired across Europe. But when World War II engulfed the continent, he turned his talents to the skies, joining the Romanian Air Force and quickly proving himself a deadly fighter pilot. Initially flying in defense of Romania's alliance with Nazi Germany, Cantacuzino carved out a reputation as an audacious, highly skilled ace. His Messerschmitt Bf-109 became a scourge to Soviet pilots, his tally of kills rising steadily. Despite fighting for the Axis, Cantacuzino remained fiercely Romanian, his allegiance tied to his homeland rather than Hitler's Reich. Everything changed on August 23, 1944. With the Soviet Red Army closing in, the Romanian government abruptly switched sides, breaking away from Nazi Germany and allying with the Allies. Chaos erupted. German bombers turned their guns on their former Romanian allies, and Cantacuzino found himself leading desperate dogfights against the Luftwaffe, the very force he had once fought beside. It was in this maelstrom that Cantacuzino was approached with an impossible task. Hundreds of American airmen, once prisoners in Romanian camps, were now free but stranded. With the Germans retreating and the Soviets advancing, their fate was uncertain. One of them, Lieutenant Colonel James Gunn I, had to reach Allied lines and arrange a rescue operation. The mission required a pilot with supreme skill, absolute courage, and the ability to outmaneuver the Luftwaffe. There was only one man for the job. There was only one aircraft available: Cantacuzino's Bf-109, a fighter built for speed and lethality, but never designed to carry passengers. To accommodate Gunn, ground crews ripped out the radio equipment, creating a cramped, oxygen-starved space in the fuselage. The plane was hastily repainted with American insignia, an audacious attempt to fool both the Germans and the Allies. As they took off, Cantacuzino faced the impossible. If German fighters spotted them, they would be shot down as traitors. If American flak batteries mistook them for an enemy, they would be obliterated before they could land. And if anything went wrong with the aircraft, Gunn had no parachute, no escape. For 2 hours, they streaked toward Italy, each second a battle against fear and fate. Flying at 13,000 feet, Cantacuzino avoided both radar detection and enemy fighters. When the airbase at Cerignola, Italy, finally appeared on the horizon, another danger loomed. An American gunner, not recognizing their deception, could fire on them at any moment. In a daring display of aerial diplomacy, Cantacuzino flew slow, lowered his landing gear, and wagged his wings gestures of surrender. On the ground, American personnel stared in disbelief as a German fighter, marked with American flags, taxied toward them. Then, to their greater astonishment, Cantacuzino emerged from the cockpit and calmly asked for a screwdriver. The Americans watched in shock as he unscrewed a panel, revealing a pale, gasping gun inside. But Cantacuzino's mission wasn't over. The Americans needed confirmation that the Romanian airfield was still secure before launching a rescue mission. When his Bf-109 was damaged on the ground, they handed him a Bf-109, Mustang, the very aircraft he had fought against for months. After a single briefing, he took off, dazzling the Americans with his aerobatic skill. He returned to Romania under escort, using pre-arranged signals to confirm the airfield's safety. Within days, the Americans launched Operation Reunion, evacuating over 1,100 Allied airmen from Romanian soil. His return journey was no less perilous. Suspicious of his true allegiance, the Americans assigned 3 Bf-109 Mustangs to escort him. Their orders were clear: if Cantacuzino made any sudden movements, he was to be shot down. Cantacuzino suddenly veered out of formation as they flew over Yugoslavia, sending a ripple of tension through the escort pilots. Then, he fired a single shot from his machine guns before calmly returning to position. The Americans, still wary, later concluded that he had simply been checking his weapons for any signs of German sabotage. Approaching Popăstiliordeni airfield, he executed the agreed-upon signal, firing yellow flares to indicate that the base was secure. Moments later, a coded transmission confirmed it to the Americans.
I have 606 gallons of gas.
With that, a massive rescue operation was set in motion, proving that Cantacuzino's gamble had paid off. Cantacuzino's war did not end there. He continued fighting now as an Allied pilot until the war's final days. When Romania fell under Soviet influence, he became a target. Stripped of his status, his wealth, and his homeland, he fled to Spain, where he spent his final years performing air shows. The ace who had once danced through the skies, who had outwitted the Luftwaffe and saved over 1,000 lives, died in exile in 1958. But his legacy remains. Cantacuzino was not just a pilot, he was a paradox. A man who fought for the Axis, but defied Nazi ideology. A warrior who shot down alley planes, then risked his life to save their men. A hero who turned the very weapons of war into instruments of salvation. His Bf-109, streaked with American insignia, was more than a machine. It was a symbol of defiance, of courage, of a man who refused to be bound by the politics of war. And on that day in August 1944, in the strangest of circumstances, Constantin Cantacuzino became an unexpected hero, the ace who fooled the Luftwaffe and changed the fate of hundreds. History is full of hidden heroes and untold legends. What other astonishing war stories are waiting to be revealed? Subscribe now and join us on this journey through the most daring, unbelievable, and forgotten moments of history.